Well, good morning. Thank you very much. It's an honor to be here. This is the first time I've been in Europe in 30 years. First time I was here was with my wife, who's half German, half Mexican, on our honeymoon. I call her Germex. She doesn't always appreciate that. But it's wonderful to be here. First time in Norway, and it's been fantastic. And thank you. You've been wonderful hosts. So the first thing I always want to tell you is I'm just a cop. I'm not a drone expert. I'm not in the UAV space. I'm a 24-year veteran of a local small police department in Southern California. And so my journey into learning about drones started in about 2015 when I realized drones are being used in policing, but not very well. So we wanted to get into the space. We knew we had to get there, but first what we did is essentially do a working group because we knew we had to address the public, just like Jay and just like Brian talked about. We had to address our community before we ever invested in the drones, because if we've seen law enforcement agencies in the U.S. invest in drones and then have the communities shut them down because of fear of privacy issues. So we took that very seriously. So again, my name's Captain Vern Sallee. I'm the second in command to the chief of police for our department, so I'm a high-level administrator, and I have essentially a drone team that we put together. So I like to explain that your industry is helping me solve a problem. And what my problem is how do I routinely deliver decision quality data, live video, to first responders before they get on scene for better situational awareness. And that solution we call drone as a first responder. That drone is continuously available. It's not locked in the trunk of a car to be driven somewhere and then launched. It's continuously available on a launch site with an experienced teleoperator who operates the UAS and the camera remotely and also communicates tactics via the police radio to the resources. We can widely distribute the live video to the first responders, but not just the cops, but the supervisors and to the managers. We have 2 strategic launch sites to give us good response times. We use cloud-based software that's overlaid on a standard commercial DJI drone that allows geofences and automation to help increase our flight safety. And it allows my folks on the ground to focus on the incident, not on a drone. I want my cops to be cops. I don't want my cops to be drone pilots. So the traditional use of drones in police work is reactive. First, you have to get on the scene and deploy manually. It's a slow response, and sometimes they're the last one on scene. It's also manual handheld flight subject to human error and inconsistent skills. Not everybody's a great drone pilot. Not everybody has the same skill sets. The first responder is a UAS pilot rather than using their primary skill sets on scene. I want my police officers to be police officers and deal with the emergency. I don't want them focused on flight safety per se. That's the value to me as an administrator. There's problems with visual line of sight. When you're a pilot on the ground, the drone could easily go behind objects and things, and then you're violating visual line of sight rules. So you have some limitations. And it's highly localized and lacking situational awareness. It's challenging to distribute that live video. So the solution is drone as a first responder. The drone is prepared to respond immediately to any emergency within a geofenced area. It's operated remotely by a teleoperator who is an experienced sworn officer who knows police tactics. The flight safety is ensured by automation, geofencing, and a visual observer at the launch site who is technically the pilot in command and ready to take over the drone if there's an airspace conflict. We currently have an operational radius of about 5.5 kilometers from each of our launch sites. The teleoperator can choose which launch site to launch from to go to whichever one is closest to the incident. The teleoperator can assist officers with the radio, and we can live stream that video with almost zero latency to up to 50 police officers, which is a game changer. So this is an example of our DFR in action. So the paradigm shift is that proactive aspect. And we're honored to be part of the FAA's integration pilot program. And we really are one of the leading and most successful partners within the IPP and with the Drone as a First Responder program. So again, Drone as a First Responders, proactive versus reactive. It's fully integrated into our response. It's not just a patrol officer out there ready to go. We can routinely send a drone to any call that we want to, priority 1 or 2 emergency calls. We can use it on routine calls, not just priority ones. We have fewer limitations than ground-based flight. We focus on telepresence and that teleoperator actually sharing intelligence live with our police officers to increase their safety and to increase public safety. It does not replace our police officers on the ground. It just enhances what they're able to do, and it's a lower cost option for agencies that don't have traditional manned air support units. In the United States, there are 18,000 state, local, tribal, and territorial police agencies, 18,000. About 200 have manned aircraft units. So they're extraordinarily expensive to run a manned helicopter unit. In the US, a manned helicopter in our region is about $4.5 million. The camera package just to add to that is another $600,000, and it's about $1,000 to $1,300 per hour to operate that manned helicopter. That is cost prohibitive to those remaining 18,000 agencies. But for agencies like us and smaller, drones as a first responder model are critical and the key to the future. Really simple. I'm a cop, not a tech guy, right? So this is the traditional drone model of Part 107, single flight. Here's a lot of crazy architecture, but essentially a teleoperator through the cloud really is controlling the drone through the autonomy and the geofence. This is about Chula Vista, second largest city in the county of San Diego, Southern California. This is Mexico, Pacific Ocean. 270,000 people, 249 sworn officers. We don't have a helicopter unit. We have 2 launch sites, one at our headquarters, one at Bayview Hospital. These are our busiest areas for calls, but with the geofencing and a visual observer on each of these 2 launch sites, we're able to cover this entire area safely with a drone, and we typically will get to a call within 170 seconds, which is really amazing. We use it for 10 hours a day, 4 days a week. And we're going to be expanding to 7 days a week in January. We dispatch the high priority calls within 5 miles and also helps us inform our resource deployment to the scene. We started about 1 year ago in the IPP, October 26th, and the teleoperator is Part 107 qualified. They fly from this remote cockpit on a standard desktop computer. You could fly our drone from here today using this technology. And the computer is just, has all the sophisticated flight controls, camera controls, geofencing, and flight tracking and telemetry to let us fly safely in those areas. Before we had the beyond visual line of sight waiver from the FAA, we were able to go about 1 mile around the station. We were, in March, awarded the first public safety COA over an urban area with the BVLOS provision. It vastly increased our area up to 5.5 kilometers. And we still do have visual observers for airspace awareness, but we're working on that automation because that's our most expensive part of our solution right now. Our fleet, currently 2 Matrice 210 V2s. Those just replaced the M200s. We like the V2s because the OcuSync gives us a lot more reliability. We have a Z30 camera, and we get about a 20 to 23 minute flight time, which is enough for most average calls for service to get it taken care of. So here's what our progress actually looks like. this is the current number, 1,120 flights as of last week. We fly average 6 to 10 flights a day. You can see this live on our website. We've been present or assisted in 157 arrests. We've cleared 233 calls for service without sending ground units. And we get on scene about almost half of the time, which is huge. Here's really where it makes a huge difference. The UAS beats the patrol officers on priority 2 calls by 7 minutes and feeds them live videos to increase their safety. And on priority 1 calls, those are life-threatening calls, it beats patrol officers to the scene on an average of 3.5 minutes, which is a huge response time, feeding them live video so they can use the best tactics. So this is another video. This is an example. The first part is an example of a tragic shooting in the U.S. where the officers did not have good information. The second part is our video giving our officers better information to have a better outcome.
And there was a guy who with a pistol, Sallee face, he's like pointing it at everybody. The guy keeps pulling it in on his, it's Sallee face, scare him. He's sitting on the swing right now, but he keeps pulling it in on his pants and pointing at people. I'm getting ready to leave, but you know what, he's right here by the youth center or whatever. And he's pulling it in on his pants. I don't know if he's real or not. Okay, we'll go down, okay? He's wearing a camouflage hat, a gray jacket with black sleeves. So he keeps pulling his gun out of his pants and pointing it at people. Radio, shot fired, wheel down, on black revolver.
Look how close that police car is, right up on where the suspect was, and it resulted in a tragic shooting.
Pues nosotros entró y el pinche le dio un dado y al parecer trae un encendedor, pero el encendedor, entonces la gente solo anda mirando y pues está así como quizás me imagino que está un poquito más de la cabeza y tenía esa cosa y después se hace para arriba, la hace para abajo, camisa roja y sí, pero está grande, sin de que se sí, pero está grande, sin de que se
It increases the officer safety, it increases the public safety, and it increases the suspect safety because we used better tactics because we had information on the front end of the call versus at the end of the call. So what's next? Again, working through the IPP and with the FAA for a stronger U.S. drone ecosystem, sense and avoid. We're also working on a close proximity, low altitude waiver for some tactical low-level ground operations. We are also working with the FAA on a one-to-many so we could actually have multiple drones up in the air safely at the same time with one teleoperator. We are increasing flight automation and integration into our computer-aided dispatch systems with, and also we'd like to have some self-docking and charging drones, more electronic BVLOS, and the pilots in command, as you can imagine, those people on our rooftop launch pads are the most expensive part of what we do, so we'd like to automate that. And then we'd like to integrate drones into all emergency responses. And if I have a quick moment, I'll show this and cut it short because I know I'm on a bit of time. This is just an example of a routine call of somebody called in this man sitting on a park bench with a baby in there drinking alcohol, acting strangely. The officer approaches. He's got a warrant, so now you see a foot pursuit. The first word that we had of a foot pursuit was from our drone teleoperator, overwatching our officer and providing for his safety and his trainee's safety. Foot pursuits through the street. The teleoperator is actually telling dispatch as well as all the other officers exactly what's going on, exactly where our officers are at the end of this foot pursuit. And then they peel him off the fence and they get him into custody. So again, foot pursuits are one of the most dangerous things that police officers do. Police officers are killed in foot pursuits all the time in the States. And this is one area that we can increase our officer safety and also help promote public safety. And the last thing is our tech partner that really gave us the software to do this is called Cape Aerial Telepresence. They were just purchased by Motorola in this last October, and so we're really looking forward to working with Motorola to take this to scale. And so again, I'm very honored to be here. Thank you so much for your patience with me. I'll be here for the entire conference to answer any questions as well.